The British Army myths you believe are absolute rubbish, and I'm about to prove it with facts that will make you question everything you think you know about Britain's military, because what I discovered during my research for this video will shock you, including one myth so ridiculous that it proves half the internet doesn't even check basic dates. Are you ready to have your mind blown? Because trust me, you're going to need it for what's coming. Oh, and stick around for myth number 4, because when you realise what actually happened with the tank in Gulf War, you'll never trust military forums again. Welcome back to the war. Now, let's start with the biggest and most controversial lie that patriotic Brits, including myself, tell themselves every single day. The British Army is a Tier 1 fighting force. Unfortunately, this is wrong. But here's the bombshell that's going to ruin your day. In 2023, a senior US general told UK Defence Secretary Ben Wallace, and I quote, that the British Army is quote no longer a top level fighting force and is barely Tier 2. Now let that sink in. Barely Tier 2 from America, Britain's closest ally. Now, I can already hear you typing angry comments, but wait until you hear the evidence, because it gets so much worse. The British Army would exhaust its ammunition supplies in a few days during actual conflict. Its vehicles are 30 to 60 years old in many cases. It cannot defend UK airspace against modern missile and drone threats. As we've seen proven in Ukraine, the army has shrunk from over 150,000 to just 76,000 in 3 decades. But here's the thing that nobody talks about. 30% of Britain's so-called high readiness forces are reservists who can't even mobilise quickly. Retired British commanders have admitted the army would struggle to qualify as Tier 2, let alone Tier 1. And if that doesn't convince you, wait until you hear about the tank myth that proves how gullible military enthusiasts really are. Now let's talk about Ajax, because the internet loves to hate this vehicle. £5.5 billion, personnel getting hearing damage and nausea, a programme that started in 2010 and still isn't finished. Ajax is a disaster, right? Wrong, again. Now before you lose your minds in the comments, yes, Ajax has had serious problems, but here's what the media won't tell you, and what makes this myth so dangerous. The root causes were identified. Mechanical issues with tracks, suspension, engine mounting, electrical problems. All real issues, absolutely. But here's the reality check nobody wants to hear. Of the 310 people exposed to the noise and vibration problems, 238 returned to duty without any issues. Only 17 remained under outpatient care. That's a 95% return to duty rate. The fixes have been implemented. New antiphons, new seating, installed by March 2023. Defence News confirmed the programme is now back on track, and deliveries of the vehicle have already taken place this year. The Ajax story isn't about British incompetence, it's about how media loves disaster narratives more than boring success stories. And speaking of media narratives, wait until you hear the rifle myth that's kept an entire generation of armchair experts looking stupid. The SA-80 rifle is unreliable garbage that breaks apart in soldiers' hands. Except it's not, and I can prove it with battlefield stats that will make foreign warriors cry. Now yes, the original L85A1 from the 1980s had genuine problems, but that's not what British soldiers carry today, and the performance data will blow your mind. In Oman battlefield conditions, the L85A2 achieved a 95% success rate. Want to know what the popular rival achieved? 47%, less than half. In Afghanistan, properly maintained L85A2 rifles achieved an 88% reliability rate. The A3 variant is even better. But here's the detail that destroys this myth completely. In comparative testing in Alaska, Brunei and Kuwait, the SA-80 outperformed both the DeMarco C8 and the Straya AUG. Now I know half of you are already typing about how your mate's cousin's friend in the army says otherwise, but millions of rounds fired in Iraq and Afghanistan with the A2 and A3 variants tell a different story. But if you think that's surprising, wait until you see the historical myth that proves nobody on the internet can use Google properly. The Challenger 2 tank was unreliable in the Gulf War and constantly broke down in desert conditions. This is my favourite myth to destroy because it proves that half the military internet doesn't know basic history. The Challenger 2 tank was not unreliable in the Gulf War. Want to know why? Because it wasn't even there. The Gulf War ended in 1991. The Challenger 2 entered service in 1998, 7 years later. The tank that fought in the Gulf War was the Challenger 1, which had zero tank lost to enemy fire and destroyed around 300 Iraqi vehicles. One Challenger 1 achieved the longest tank-to-tank kill in history at 2.54 miles. When the Challenger 2 finally did see combat in Iraq in 2003, it survived multiple RPG hits with no crew fatalities. The only losses the Challenger 2 has seen has been in the Ukraine and Russia conflict. British Army deception tactics were a minor sideshow that didn't really matter in major conflicts. This myth is so wrong, it's actually offensive to the thousands of lives these operations saved. Operation Fortitude for D-Day wasn't just effective, it was strategically decisive. British deception convinced German commanders that the main invasion would hit Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. 22 full divisions of the German 15th Army stayed put at Calais even after D-Day started. That's a 7-week delay in German reinforcements reaching Normandy. The Germans thought there were 79 Allied divisions when only 52 actually existed. Ultra decrypts proved German commanders believed Normandy was just a feint for weeks after the landing. This wasn't just fake radio chatter. Physical dummy tanks, aircraft and landing craft were positioned where German aerial reconnaissance could photograph them. 27 fictitious sub-agents under Juan Puyol Garcias influenced the German high commands directly. Every serious historian agrees Operation Fortitude was crucial to D-Day's success. Calling British deception ineffective is like calling the internet a fad. But wait, there's more myths to destroy, and I'm going to rapid fire through them because your attention span is probably shot by now. The British Army is smaller than Napoleonic times, only true per capita, and there were only 12,000 troops in 1721, so not even accurate. Most veterans are homeless and unemployed. Wrong again. Only 1.4% of veterans are actively seeking work, and only 0.25 are homeless. That's 1 in 400. British officers are chinless wonders. That's literally American name calling from 1910 with zero factual basis. And British procurement is uniquely terrible. Bad, yes, but the root cause isn't corruption, it's British exceptionalism and funding mismatches. Only 44 corruption allegations since 2011, with no companies excluded due to lack of convictions. So there you have it. British Army myths absolutely destroyed with facts and evidence. Now I know this video is going to generate massive debate. Half of you will be furious that I challenge your preconceptions. The other half will be sharing this to prove their mates wrong. Either way, let's discuss in the comments. And don't forget to check out our other videos where we compare British and American units. Hi soldiers, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments. And check out our merch and membership programs. And don't forget to check back in again soon. That's an order.